Two more.
Hello guys, just 4 people, huh? She's already. You guys taking another class from 11 to 1 or something? Anyone taking another class from 11 to 1? It's okay. I mean, if that is the case, that's fine. Like, you take some time to log in and stuff. That's totally acceptable. But coming at like 120, 130, that's not really acceptable.
Hello everyone, Orion Heiser here and welcome to another episode of Heiser Says. Well, it's happened. Australia has got deflation for the first time in 22 years. I can't say I can remember the last time it had it. I was probably a little bit too young. We can see the latest CPI data that has just come out, the quarterly change. Have a look, definitely into the negative. So let's look at the media release and some information from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and then look at a few other things. The CPI fell 1.9% in the June 2020 quarter. The Consumer Price Index fell 1.9% in the June 2020 quarter.
Okay, so guys, we can start our class. I hope everybody is doing well. Hello, can you guys hear me? Can you see me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Okay, okay, good. Yeah, yeah. All right, good, good, good. All right, so let's start. Today we are going to look at the architecture frameworks. And so far, I think, did anybody just enroll this week or anybody joining new?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in that case, just remind me when I'm taking the attendance that like if you are not already in the list, then I will add your name.
Oh,
But
sure.
just remind me during when I'm taking the attendance. So because we need to report if people are missing out like 3 classes in a row or something, then we need to report. So if
So I just noted that there's a quiz also this week, right?
yes, yes, yeah.
So is there any consideration about that?
I'm not sure. We need to talk to the course coordinator. Yeah, I cannot comment on that. Let's just finish
Okay.
the lecture first, and then we'll
Sure.
talk about. I will give you some time to address the quiz. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you, guys. So welcome, welcome. Today we are gonna look at the architecture frameworks. That means data architectures. So last week we did learn something about business purpose, business goals, what are the deliverables in a business intelligence project, what are the roles. We looked at technical side of things, we looked at the business side of things, and we looked at regulational side of things. And then when we are looking at the workflow, we see how everything can be integrated. And we also looked at some interviewing and documentation that needs to be done. So, but this week we will delve deeply into the architecture, right? What is the framework of the architecture? What is the framework of information architecture? What is the framework of data architecture, technical architecture, product architecture? And I will also introduce you to the concept of metadata, right? Metadata is where the data that tells you where other data is, right? It's like a repository, or it's like a list of all the data. For example, like if somebody is looking at the population statistics of different states in Australia, so now the metadata will contain where each particular data is available, and if you click on that, then you will look at each of the data. So that's a metadata. You need to understand the term, but you don't need to know how to work with metadata. But if you have ever looked at kaggle.com, anybody know Kaggle? Anybody heard of Kaggle? Kaggle.com, where you have a lot of free online data sets. Then if you heard of it? Kaggle.com, no?
No, sir.
No, nobody. Okay. So Kaggle is like an online platform where people post the data sets. Like they can post data sets about coronavirus, the data set about health, population, whatever, the housing, whatever data that they collect, they can post and it make it publicly accessible. So that's called. So when there is a large volume of data and it needs some guidance, so metadata is like a guidance of that. If you go to Kaggle and you download a couple of data sets, you will know that the metadata is very critical. It tells you, I mean, what you are looking for, where to find what you're looking for. And yeah, so that's rant about the metadata. And then we will also learn a little bit about security and privacy, which is quite important as we are moving into the 21st century, deep into the, we already moved into the 21st century. So it's like it's moving forward, 2020 onwards. So a lot of people are going to use the information technology space. So basically security and privacy are a key issue, and those are the things that we'll address today. So why do we need a framework at all? First of all, let me ask you a simple question. What is an architecture? What is the meaning of the word architecture? I mean, in general sense, can anybody tell me what is the meaning of the word architecture? before we go into understanding business, technical, and different architecture frameworks, we need to understand what is the meaning of the word architecture. What does it tell you? What does it communicate to you?
It is a design.
Yeah, it's like design, like like an architect is somebody who creates and designs something, and it is, yes, it is exactly like a fundamental design. Okay, so so if you look at different aspects of architecture, so multiple application specific reporting requirements, they are required in any business environment. So you run a business, so you need to report in different environments. So you need to have various databases, right? Database of times, database of teams, databases for each purpose. So when you are looking at data architecture, it is going to be completely complex. So unless it is very, very, very well organized, it is very hard for you to ask a question and find the answer, right? SQL, like, how many of you know SQL? Have heard of SQL at least?
Yes, sir.
What is the purpose of SQL? Can you tell us?
Used to create databases.
Yeah, it is not just to create databases, it is a good way to access databases as well.
Yeah.
So like we can ask a question, we can ask, look at this table, look at this table, get the data from this table, get the data from this table, where this is matching,
Yeah.
where this is. So you can ask intelligent questions to the data. Yeah,
Queries like.
queries, yes, that's called, yes, structured query language. That's the meaning of SQL. Structured query language. You are giving it a query, so you are accessing different databases, right? I mean, you are accessing the master database, and the master database has so many tables, so many sub databases that are all linked. So now you can access the information from this table, where this table is that, like, so you can use you can use to ask intelligent questions about the data. So this is something that that will be very useful, like, and the if you go to the need, like, there are several BI tools today. Like, I think I introduced you to some of the BI tools. I at least mentioned some of the BI tools to you in the previous classes. Can anybody recall what these business tools are usually in the market today? What business tools do we have in the market today? Can you name a few? Anybody? I'm waiting. I introduced you to 3 or 4 BI tools in the second class, I guess. Yeah. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks is too long a time. Huh? You forget everything in 2 weeks. Can you recall what are the BI tools that are in the market today? I actually showed you as well, I think, some of these tools. Maybe to another group, I don't know. Maybe I would show, like, something. So how many of you remember me talking about the Power BI and Tableau? Can you recall now?
Tableau.
Yeah, Tableau. What is a Tableau used for? What kind of BI tool is Tableau? You heard of Tableau, or you never even heard of the word Tableau? Guys, let me tell you something. Okay, this is general information. Like, you are taking data analytics course, right? Yeah, so you need to know some fundamentals, right? And these are not, like, if you go to an interview and said, like, I finished data analytics course, then they will ask you some fundamental questions like, okay, what is a Tableau? What is Tableau do? What is Power BI? What is SQL? So they will ask you some fundamental questions, and you need to know these questions. Like, this is general knowledge, right? Not knowing about Tableau, not knowing about SQL, like, we cannot just work on Excel all the time. We need to adapt and embrace new technologies. I'm not telling you that you go and learn every single language, no. But you need to be aware of, okay, there is Tableau, there is Power BI. You need to know at least what the tools are there. It's called Orange, that is recently developed. So Excel has introduced new visualization tools and graphs as well. So these are all used for BI, business intelligence. You need to know these things, guys. So yeah, so if you the BI tools, they are actually, they create specific reporting environments, like, you know, and they create enterprise business solution. That means business intelligence solution needs to be created for each and every enterprise. So, and that's why we need to abandon the older outdated standards and create a need for, like, and that's why we need new architecture framework. Okay, so we can use manually created SQL servers, right? Or I can, but the see the ETL tools. How many of you know what an ETL is? Okay, ETL is like is something that we need to create a database, right? Like if you want to create a database, right? How do you want to do? You want to extract the data from some place, transform the data into a good format, and then load it into a database. That's called an ETL. Okay, extract, transform, and load. Okay, so these are the tools that are used to build our databases. Okay, an ETL is basically a tool like a SQL code, right? SQL, what does SQL do? We can not only access using SQL, we can build databases using SQL. Okay, is that making sense? Anything making sense? Or like, do you have any questions? This is the, like, we are just yeah, the quiz will start in the tutorial class. Yes, somebody posted a message. So the quiz will be in the tutorial. Yes. Okay, and yeah, any questions regarding the architecture framework, guys? Is that making sense? Or okay, so yeah, so when you are looking at business groups, right? So we need to understand silos. Silos are the data structures, right? So business groups have these application architectures. So these are called silos, and they embody all the business functions, and they look at the applications that are built up and how to integrate that applications with several other applications as well. So basically what it creates, this technique that was used, that has been implemented using the silos, it has been like creating a lot of frustrations among the technical users and also from the business users. That is why we are searching for a good and well established framework. So that's why we need a new architecture framework. So let's look at successful frameworks that we can. Let me introduce you to these frameworks. So an architectural framework is like a blueprint, right? Framework is nothing like a blueprint, like a design. Like, you know, you want to build a house, you go to an architect, and then he will give you a blueprint of the situation of the house and how you want to construct whatever. The same thing, an architectural framework. So it is it going to enable more projects, right? Like when you are running a business, you not only do one project, but you do several other projects, right? So how to coordinate these two projects, how to make sure that they complement each other. And there are cohesive forces, and cohesive means like it has to smoothly flow. The projects must smoothly flow with one with hand in hand, and they must be cost effective. So budgeting is also another framework that we are not going to talk about the budgeting framework today in this class, but when you're looking at the architecture frameworks, being cost effective is critical, because you are managing multiple projects, and you need to know which project to be done first or which project should be abandoned. So you need to be aware of these as well. And then the most important things for any business is innovation, right? Expansion, how to expand the business, can we accommodate expansion, right? Let us say you are starting a small business, and you are starting with let us say 10,000 customers per month. Let us say, I mean, I don't know, I'm just saying 1,000 customers per month, let us say. Now let us say that the customers are increasing to 20,000 or 15,000. Do you think your business is scalable? Can you accommodate the expansion, or do you need to move to another place? Like that is one of the biggest issues when you are starting a business. Sometimes it is not possible to expand the business because you are constrained by the space, you are constrained by your by other socioeconomic factors as well. So, and can you renovate it? And all these things need to be addressed. And then we need to provide support for the development and testing of the how the performance is done. Like, for the performance monitoring, we use KPIs. What is KPI? I talked about it in the last class. How do you monitor the performance of a business project?
Indicator.
Key performance
Key
indicator.
performance, yes, very good, very good. Who is that? That's very good memory. I appreciate that. Yeah. So who is that?
Me, sir.
Praveen. Okay, Praveen, very nice, very good, Praveen. So you're paying
Thank you.
attention in the class, very nice. Okay, so one thing that I want to tell you is be participative in the class. If you are participating in the lecture, I will remember your name. If I remember your name, that helps you. How? When I'm grading, everybody, like, I see somebody, if you miss something, I will be saying that at least this guy is interested in learning. So that will give me a soft corner towards you. So make sure you are present, you are listening, you are active in the class. So that will help you a lot. Okay. Especially when it comes to grading, I will see, if I never heard of your name, I'll say I will look at you as one objective evaluation. But if I know if you are participating in the class, you are active, then I may be willing to give you a slightly higher grade. If let us say you got 69 out of 70, then I say, okay, so this guy, let me see if I can add 1 point to push it to 70. So I can do that, but I can do that only to the people who are willing to participate in the lecture. Okay, is that clear? So if you are just logging on into your computer and then going away, then that is not something that I will appreciate it. Okay, anyway, so that's so participate in the lecture, be active. So now the architectural framework, it has different layers. It has layers at different levels. For example, the product architecture. First of all, let's have an information architecture. Right, information architecture contains all the information, how to process this information, how to deal with this information. And then we have data architecture and technical architecture. Data architecture deals with how to handle the data, how the databases are created, how to deal with this. Technical architecture deals with the underlying software code, underlying principles that are guiding the technology that you are using, the business, the BI tool that you are using, guiding those technologies. Then we have at the fundamental level the product architecture. What products are you selling? How do you want to structure the product? Like how do you want to integrate the product architecture with the rest of it? So when you are planning to create and implement, so you need information. Information is key to making decisions, correct? So when you are looking at information is like bulk, right? It is like information, like, okay, it is a good idea to invest in this business. That's the information, right? How to do that, where to get that, all of this is detail, right? So if you look at the product architecture is primarily detail, right? So product architecture is like adding a new feature to your cell phone. Let us say you are selling cell phones, adding a new feature. That's a product architecture, right? You want to sell a laptop, then you say you want to embedded webcam. You want to see like 5 or 6 USB ports. What I mean, that's all product architecture. Now, when you're looking at that requires more detail, right? So define the requirements. So this is required, this is required. You're going to more detail. But when you're looking at information is about the decision making. So the people, the business intelligence leaders, BI leaders, they all look for one thing, that is information. As a business analyst, your job is to convert the data, convert the technology that is available, use the technology that is available, and understand the products and create this information, right? At the end of the, if you are selling, if your company is manufacturing cell phones, for example, at the end of the day, you want to say, hey, Mr. CEO, we want to invest in a new iPhone. We want to create a new iPhone, or we want to do this. That's the information, because there is a lot of market for this. We look at the market trends and see this is something that we can do. But in order for you to be able to do that, you need to analyze the data. You need to understand the technical and product architectures. Is that making sense? Is that clear, guys?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is there
All
a quiz for 1 hour?
Yeah, we'll talk about after that. We'll talk about it after the class. So please stop. Please pay attention to the lecture now. Okay, we'll talk about the quiz. Quiz is not in the lecture class. The lecture class is for 2 hours. Let's focus on the lecture now, and then I will talk about the quiz in the tutorial class. Okay. We'll finish the lecture at least like 15 minutes before the class, and then we'll talk about it. Okay. So please focus on what we are doing. I know you are all enthusiastic about the quiz, but doesn't mean that you can ignore what I'm teaching here. Please pay attention. So now then we have information architecture. So in the information architecture, then information is about what types of analytics need to be used. What are the decisions that are to be made? So we use information to make decisions, right? So if you change something, right? If we change the analytics, if we change the data, if we take the technical things, then what needs to be done will change. That means information will change the decisions. New information will come in, and then new decisions need to be made. Right? Information architecture encompasses what to do, who is to be doing this, and that means who means employees, customers, and I mean, how are they going to be affected? They will have access. Will they have access to what kind of tools? Where is the data now? Where? Like you would do what to do, who should be involved in it, where to do the integration of the data, and why we are doing this in the first place. So all the W's that we are going to do, we are going to involve all this in the information architecture. So once the business solution is built, then we can see, first of all, you need to understand why we are doing this, and then we need to see what is it that we are planning to do. Then who are going to be affected by this, and how to involve them and give them access, and then where the data is now, right? How to integrate the data, where do you want to store these analytical applications. Now let's look at the data architecture. Data architecture is the fundamental thing that you need to know as a data analyst, right? You will be not coming across a technical architecture. Technical architecture is usually done by software people, somebody who has experience with coding and transformation of database management and all these things. But the data architecture is something that you need to know as a student of data analytics. What is it? The chat. Why are you giving attendance? I don't understand. What? I mean, Prem, are you here?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Why are you giving attendance? Why are you saying present, sir, and all these things?
No, I said you like 15 minutes ago.
Why? I am not taking attendance now. Why are you telling all this? See,
I was unknown about that, sir. Sorry.
that means you are not paying attention. You don't know what's going on in the class right
No,
now.
I was just 5 or 7 minutes left, so that I thought like you already take attendance, so that I'll just write the name on the chat section. That's fine. If you're gonna take attendance, then I'll say the present at that time.
Yeah. So okay, the time at which I take the attendance is completely my choice. Right? I can take at the beginning of the class. I can take at the end of the class. I'm not telling you when I'm taking attendance.
Yeah, that's completely fine. Sorry, you just go on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know why everybody Sahil Prem. This is very meaningless. This is meaningless. Pay attention to the lecture. Lecture is going on. Okay, so look at the data architecture. Understanding data architecture is one of the fundamental roles of a data analyst. So you need to look at the schemas, how to integrate the data, how to transform the data, where to store the data, and then workflow. In the last class, we talked about the workflow of a data, like how we want to take a raw data and convert into a business decision. So we talked about the workflow. We talked about the workflow using regulation, using data, using business principles. All these things, we created that chart where like it goes from like that, expands like that, and then ultimately we hope we can make a good decision based on the things. The scope of the data architecture, it starts where we created the source systems for by the information providers. So whoever is providing the information, it starts where, and it ends at the business person making the decisions or making the doing the data analysis. So data collection, right? Data integration and data analysis. These are the things that so let us say you apply for a job, you will get they will ask you, what kind of data analysis are you familiar? What are you familiar with? Data integration? Are you familiar with transformation of data? That means if the data is given in one format, are you capable of converting the data into another format? Right? If the text format, most of the government data is in text format, people save it as a CSV files, right? So can you load it using a ETL into a server where people can access that? So these are the kind of jobs that you can do as a data analyst, and it involves some software coding as well. But understanding data architecture, the scope of data architecture is vast, especially in today's world with everybody trying to accumulate as much data as possible and do the best decisions possible. Right? Let me tell you one example for me. I watch a TV show on Netflix, and I know that's called Lucifer. I mean, it doesn't matter what show. I watch the data. I watch the TV show, but the data integration of Netflix is so good with Google that on YouTube I got the video prompt for the people who are acting in it, right? Like let us say if you watch something on Netflix, so Netflix is properly integrated with Google, right? So the both platforms, they talk to each other, right? So now Netflix is communicating with Google, saying that, hey Google, this guy is watching Lucifer, and he may be interested in knowing a little bit more about their stars, right? If you watch Friends, how many of you know watch Friends? Do you watch Friends?
Yep.
Or any
Yes, sir.
other TV series? Yeah. Okay. So if you watch Big Bang Theory or Friends or whatever, if you watch a popular TV series, then Netflix can communicate that to Google, and Google and YouTube are the same, by the way. YouTube is a subsidiary of Google, right? Okay. So YouTube and Google are owned by the same person, the same branch. So you when you go and it can find that out. So that is how the data is integrated. right? You collect information, you store the data, and then you create a workflow like that, and then that person will be able to access that information. Is that making sense? So how often do you get like I don't know whether you have this experience, but most of the time on Google, you get only relevant information. You do something, let us say you go to Facebook and you try to purchase something, okay, and then every day after you open the Facebook, let us say you go to marketplace and you purchase something and you're looking for something. So next day you open, you get the same items. You say, hey, look, these items are there. These items are for sale. So this is all machine learning. This is all possible due to data integration. So that's why the data, understanding the scope of the data architecture is like immense. The entire Amazon, right? The biggest, the richest person on the world today is Jeff Bezos, is the CEO of Amazon. Do you know Amazon, the profit margin for Amazon is less than 1%, but it is the biggest one. Why? Because they understand data integration. They understand the complete data architecture. They use the, like, what you are buying, how you are buying, where you are buying, what items will interest you. This all is integrated into data analysis. They have AI machine learning people working 24/7 to integrate the data and put the data into useful information. Okay, so you need to understand that the scope of data architecture is vast. You have so much to do, like, you can learn so much. You can influence, like, you can get the best job possible. You can you can make $500,000 in a year. So if you learn data architecture and understand and apply properly. So the need for data warehouse. So what is a data warehouse? Enterprise, I mean, first of all, what is a warehouse? How many of you heard of the term warehouse?
Where something is stored, like something is stored for us.
Exactly, correct, very good. So warehouse is something where something is stored. A data warehouse is where the data is stored, obviously. Enterprise data warehouse means where the data related to that particular enterprise is stored, right? So Amazon has EDW, like all the companies, all the major tech companies, all the major industrial, and even small businesses, they have EDWs. These are called enterprise data warehouses. So these are the source systems. So either they are like the customer database or enterprise database or whatever they are all in charge of doing one thing, is capturing the transactions.
In this video, we're going to look at the top 5 most common questions that Woolworths supermarkets ask in their interviews. I'm going to help you find fantastic answers that will get you a job working at Woolworths. Let's start with the question.
Okay, fine. Okay, so the source ERP, these are the source systems. These they capture the data and report the transactions, right? How do you think Walmart or something builds their databases? How do you think the data warehouse for a large organization is built? What goes into building a database, building a data warehouse? Can anybody venture a guess? Like, you see, if you look at the server of Google or Amazon, like, they are like huge, right? So where do they get this data from fundamentally?
The users.
Yeah. So basically they get it from transactions.
Okay.
Right? Basically, whenever you buy something, whenever you sell something, so they get it, like, whatever transaction is happening, they have that access. So CRM, whatever resources, right? So customer analytics is like one of the biggest things in today's market, right? So the companies that do a lot of customer analysis, they do very, very well. And the companies that don't use any CRM or like, they don't use any enterprise management, they struggle because they have to rely on people coming and visiting your store, which is inefficient, which is not the best way, right? It is very unlikely that you go to your store and you find something that you like. It's very hard, right? So what is the best way for you, for somebody to sell you something? They mail you that. They can send you based on your purchase habits. They will know exactly what to do and they sell you that like that. So how do we get all this data? They get the data from transactions, okay, by processing these transactions. So basically you need to understand the structure of the data and relationships between the data. So when you are looking, sometimes it is very difficult, but when you are reporting these transactions, it is very, very critical that that you manage the data. Let us look at an example here. Okay, systems record. Okay, now system, like we have where you record all these systems, like you can have a CRM, customer resource management, you have data services, you have all these SORs, SORs they call systems of record, right? Now the enterprise data warehouse is to be set up with this first, right? You where are the business processes, where are the data services, all this, and then you integrate the data, and then you put that into a data warehouse, and then at the end the business people who are going to make the decisions, they will access this database. It's very simple, right? These are all the sources where you record the data, put it into a data warehouse, and people who want the data, who want to ask intelligent questions about the data, they access the enterprise data warehouse and get some insights. They say like, okay, in North America, our company is doing very well in this particular sales of Apple computers, right? So the iPhones are doing well. iPhone 7 is doing well in South America, or so whatever, like whatever information is actually shared here, whatever data is actually shared here in the enterprise data warehouse is accessed by the BI people. And you are BI. You are the ones who is going to give that CEO or the head manager some information to make the right decision. Okay, so is the structure clear? So we have all the sources here, put that into a data warehouse, and we have access points here. Is that clear? It's a simple structure. Okay, let me just so if this is how the system, like how do you integrate, like the data is coming from different sources, right? So email, for like data comes from different sources. Obviously we all know this. Today data is available on different databases. All the databases are connected or integrated, obviously, but people buying something from here, something from there, you need to put all this. Somebody may use a cell phone to buy something, somebody may pay cash to buy something. So all the data must be put together using what we call integrated. So sometimes we have data in text format, sometimes we have data in Excel format, sometimes we have data on a SQL, right? How do you put all this together? You have to put them using technique. I mean, it's not a technique, it's we need to integrate the data. We need to put all the things into an understandable format for EDW. We have a big EDW, like Amazon, all these big companies, they have their own EDWs, warehouses. So they integrate all this data and put it in a good format, right? So once we create this, then the business intelligence will kick in. Business intelligence will actually, we can use we call this a data mart, right? So analytics, data analytics is about accessing this warehouse. So if you go to Amazon and ask for a job, they will not ask you to collect the data here. They will give you the access to the database, and they will ask you to create the business intelligence tools. So the BI tools must be created by by accessing the data and converting the data into different data marts. For example, the data can be universally stored, then you can convert the data for Chinese, I mean, I don't know, from China, from India, from Australia. So you can segregate the data into different formats using a schema technique. Like you can put it in a different format, and then you can access it. Okay. Now let me just take the attendance quickly. People are typing in something. Okay, I'll take the attendance. After that, you can, people who don't want to be there. Okay, this is the only time I'm going to take attendance. Okay. Let me, if you are not here, that's it. That's.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Okay. Pramesh.
Present, sir.
Akriti.
Akriti.
Samir.
Yes, sir.
Sujan. Sujan. Can somebody erase this here? Somebody wrote something on the screen. Can you please?
Number 5, sir.
How can that be erased? Okay. All right. Asharya.
Yes, sir.
Jashandeep.
Sir, I'm present, Susan Sharma.
Sujan, what are you doing? Why are you?
I was answering your question and then looking at Moodle in laptop. After that, my connection went out.
Okay. Jashandeep. Mohammed. Darshan. Mubashar. Ujwal.
Present, sir.
Nabeen.
Yes, sir.
Muskan.
Yes, sir.
Pratik. Suraj. Bibas.
Present, sir.
Sharing. I see sharing. Okay. Babin. Babin.
Suraj Nagpane present, sir.
Babin. Anish.
Present, sir.
Divash. Bikal. Prem.
Present, present.
Mukti. Muktiram. Sandeep.
Present, sir.
Ankit.
Present, sir.
Kishwar.
Yes, sir. 26.
Prakash.
Present, sir.
Adeep. Milan.
Present, sir.
Pooja.
Present.
Kiran. Kiran. Rairam. Nishal.
Present, sir.
Aman.
Present, sir.
Sahil.
Present, sir.
Ajit.
Yes, sir.
Praveen.
Present, sir.
Faisal.
Present, sir.
Sushant. Amit.
Present, sir.
Samir. Sushant. Susan Paudel. Sukhdeep.
Present, sir.
Susan. Shivam.
Yes, sir.
Anjesh.
Yes.
Dinesh.
Present, sir.
Saugat.
Excuse me, sir. Susan Paula.
Saugat. Tanya.
Yes, sir.
Binod.
Yes, sir.
Rabin. Prasiddha,
Yes, sir.
Namraj, Adesh,
Present, sir.
Vivek,
Yes, sir.
Harshdeep,
Yes, sir.
Avayalal,
Yeah, yes, sir.
Shikha, Leknath. Leknath, you are the first student who came today.
Present, sir. Present.
Silval,
Yes,
Present.
Sony, Sony
Present, sir.
Kamal. So just one more time, that's it. Like whoever is absent, I'm just closing this window. Please tell me the number if you are present.
So number 53.
No, just tell me when you see on the screen, you tell me.
Sir, can you scroll a bit slow? Around 40.
Okay, so you can put it in the chat if your number is marked absent. Put it in the chat. I'm seeing the chat. So number, just tell me your number, so I'll put it if your mic is not working. So I hope this is all okay. Sushant, Samir, Susan. See, these are the people. I'm guessing these are the people who just logged in into the computer and left. I mean the KYE is going to do something about these kind of people who are not answering their, like, that means you are not even, it's like coming into the class for just for attendance. That's not attending the class really. Rabin, see, these are all like either like he never missed a class. Today he didn't come. Probably he logged in and logged off. Like, sometimes you can see the people here, right? But they don't see. They don't, like, that means they are logged in, but they don't say anything. If you are following the lecture, if you are seeing the screen, you can at least type in here saying that, sir, I am here, right? Susan.
Yes, sir. Is that Susan Sharma or someone else?
Susan.
No, that's not me.
Okay, so Shrestha Susan. Okay, all right. So anybody else who just type in, like, this is close. I'm closing. Adip is good. So
Excuse me, sir.
yeah,
What about the quiz?
we'll talk about it after the class. That is in the tutorial.
On the tutorial, yeah, but in the Moodle, it shows that it opened yesterday, and we can attempt it till 5 August.
Okay, I'll talk about it. I'll look into it and I'll talk about it just after the
Okay.
attendance is done. Yeah. Okay, so
It's because I'm not in the class in the tutorial. That's why, sir.
okay, let me just do you know how to erase this on the screen?
I tried but can't.
I think it is annotate clear. Yeah, okay, annotate clear. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so that's good. All right, so that's good. Now Yeah, let's see what the issue with the quiz is. Just automatically doing the quiz. So, okay, you can attempt the quiz. The quiz will be opened at Wednesday 29 at 11 a.m. Yeah, so you have a lot of time. You have 1 week time to do the quiz. You don't need a password also. What is the big deal about it? What questions do you have about the quiz? You should have already finished the quiz.
So we do not need a password.
You don't read it. Can you read English? To attempt this quiz, you need to know the quiz password. You need to give. I will. Will it not? Is it not provided to you yet? I don't know the quiz password. So the course coordinator would have provided you the quiz, provided you the password.
No, sir. You will provide the password in the tutorial time.
Okay. So I will provide that in the tutorial today.
Okay.
And I will also see this is really too long. Why do you need 5 days to do a quiz? Let me talk to the course coordinator. It is strictly 10 minutes. It's open so for 6 days to do a quiz. Really ridiculous. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be back in on like 5 minutes. Just take 5 minutes break. We'll start at 2 o'clock again. Hello, guys. Hello. Yeah, so I tried to contact the course coordinator because it is a universal password, so it has to be the same for all the groups who are taking this class. So yeah, it's only one attempt is allowed. 20 minutes. Once you start it, it's 20 minutes. Yeah, so it is. I mean, in my opinion, this is really meaningless to give so much time to do the quiz whenever they want. It's like, you know, just organize it in a tutorial, open it and close it for 20 minutes. This is the password will be provided to you, but yeah. Okay, so let's continue our, let's finish our lecture first. Don't worry about it, the tutorial. It like 7 days for 20 minutes you can. Don't ask me any questions about the tutorial as well. So I know you guys are going to talk to each other, and then, like, you know, just everybody will get full score, right? And just really meaningless, in my opinion. Like, you know, you just talk to each other and then spend 1% do the quiz, and then everybody will learn what the questions are, and then do the same quiz. So it is just giving away points. No need of testing anything here. Yeah. Anyway, let's look at the data warehousing. We covered that. Let's look at the technical architecture. So technical architecture talks about what tools are required for a business solution, right? It covers the entire BI life cycle. So that means what technology are you planning to implement for BI? That means for business intelligence, you can use, as I told you, Tableau and Power BI are the most acceptable technologies. Then we can look at the business intelligence. Business architecture is primarily of four different functional layers, as we talked about: data source, data integration, data warehouse, and then business intelligence. So it is going from bottom to top, actually. So the way it was listed is from top to bottom. But usually you have the data source, you integrate the data, then you put it in a data warehouse, and then you apply business intelligence. These are the different functional layer. This is the topmost layer, decisions taken by the business professionals, and this is the bottommost layer where you collect the data, integrate the data, put it in a warehouse and access it. So this is the same framework as you see. These are where you collect the data, put it in a data warehouse, and access the data for Power BI. So this is how the framework, how it is, the functional layers that are there. Then we'll look at the technology choices. The functional layers are, for a classic BI technology choices, you have functional layer, BI, and data warehouse, and data store, data integration, and data sources. Again, this is going from bottom to top, where you can see have a data center where you gather all the sources. For example, data center could be anything like where a transaction is happening. And then UTL tool. ETL is extract, transform, and load. That means you collect the data in any format and convert that into, transform the data into the right format and upload it. That's called data integration. And then you have enterprise data warehouse, and you create a relational database. Relational data means that the databases, they talk to each other, right? They can communicate with each other. Like the database that is the data that is collected from one center can be integrated and related to the database that is collected from the data that is collected and stored on other server. So then business reporting, and then making the decisions. So that's how the functional layers of technology choices happen. Now the contemporary technical architecture is primarily, it is starting from bottom to up. As you can see, the arrows are going up. So you, as I said, is exactly like data, like wherever the data, like let us say you applied for a job and you looking for, what are the primary sources of data today? Where do you get the data on people today, on their purchasing habits today? Where do you think we will get this data? Google, not Google. Google doesn't record all the data. Where do we get the data? I mean, yeah, when you search for something on Google, it records, okay, this person is searching for this. Yes. Google is recording data. Yes. Google is recording where you are going. right? You have a Google map on your face, and you say allow to share information with Google, right? When you install Google Maps, you will click a button saying that allow Google to access my location, right? GPS location. So the data sources, usually today's data sources, are primarily social media, right? What you are doing on LinkedIn, what you are doing on Facebook, what you're doing on Twitter, all this is data, right? So Twitter, for example, have like so many tweets that are there, and how to make sense of this data, right? So you need to integrate the data. You need to put it in a format that you can understand it, and store this data in a data warehouse or a big data format, right? Then we are here, right? We are here. We collect all this data and store it in our warehouses, and then we access it using business intelligence. Okay, so is that making sense, guys? The structure, technical architecture, how it's making sense? Yeah. Now let's look at the rise of how the enterprise data has happened over. So over a period, okay, as we are going to go into the future, what's happening is, as the enterprises, the data expansion is evolving gradually. The business intelligence is growing, right? You can see predictive analytics, text analytics, embedded. So all these are all the forms. The red line, the dotted black line with red bar, these are the ones that you might be able to understand and do. Now the other ones is the enterprise applications. These are fundamentally these are like, they are already there. ERP, for example. How many of you heard of ERP? ERP. What is ERP? Do you know how ERP works? You don't need to know, but like, do you know what the meaning of ERP is?
Don't know, sir.
Enterprise resource planning. So CRM is customers resource planning, customer resource management. So basically what these enterprise applications do is they organize stuff. They put things into perspective, and these applications are very useful when you are storing information, when you are accessing information. So basically it's a tool. Like, for example, if you like a calendar, right? You want to store things on your phone, on a calendar, right? So you can put information in the phone, in the calendar, and that's an application, right? So basically that's a very basic application. Like, you know, how many of you heard of monday.com? monday.com is an application.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's you get the advertisement a lot. Like, it is organizing a lot of stuff, like scheduling and organizing. So it is a base. We can call it an enterprise application. So, and then we have technology platforms. Technology platforms means where are you doing? Like, are you doing how to integrate this? This is all related to hardware. Like, you need electronics expertise to build and develop and maintain the technology platforms. Now, once we are like coming from technology platform, building the technology platform, that was the first. Then we can build enterprise applications. They are also on the move, going up. Now today, earlier there used to be ERP. Today we are seeing mobile applications. As you see how these things are changing over time. Earlier it used to be mainframes, microchip, microcomputer. You see the evolution today. Today we are into web services, Amazon Web Services, smartphones. So we are already moving into tablets, social media, big data, and Internet of Things. So this is how technology platforms are evolving. Enterprise platforms, earlier ones is like ERPs. Now today we have cloud applications. We have mobile applications. So this is how enterprise applications are evolving gradually. And as you see, data integration, they are also evolving gradually. Business BI is also evolving. So we can look at dashboards, scorecards. This is like, 20 years ago, these are there. Now today we have more. We have data visualization tools. We have predictive analytics. We have text analytics. So we have cloud and integrating cloud with the data discovery, and then we have real-time analytics. That means in real time it will tell you what you're planning to do. So this is business intelligence on this side of the spectrum. On this side we have integration of data. Like earlier we have data warehouses, SQLs, and all these things. Now we are looking at data visualization as well, BI appliances, and we are refined big data. So now this is all data integration, and we have databases also evolving. So cloud-based databases are the thing of the future, right? What is a cloud? What is a cloud, guys? How many of you know what a? Don't say it's like it gives rain. What is a cloud?
Virtual storage house. Like
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, now with the cloud you can do amazing things, right? All you need is a computer. You don't even need to have a software on your installed on your computer, right? That's the we can software as a service. We can use SAS, IaaS. Like how many of you heard of SAS, software as a service? You never heard of it?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. SAS means we can take the software and we can put it on the cloud and we can access using the Amazon Web Services is providing you with so much options nowadays. So you don't need to buy a server. You don't need to buy a server space. No, because that costs you a lot of money, right? You can rent a server space. You can rent a software. Everything is you pay just as much as you use. How amazing it is! That's so like somebody who's starting up a business, they don't want to invest in a new server, right? Because server costs you thousands of dollars. Instead of that, you can buy for $100. You can buy Amazon Web Service space.
So, sir, for example, if I am going to start a business, and let's say I have 5 employees with me, so I don't need to set up anything. Like I can just rent the cloud service from Amazon.
Yes,
all the services.
yeah. But easy for 5 employees, you don't even need web services or a server. The server, your laptop can take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but you're talking about small, medium scale businesses. Obviously, that's So you don't need to. Amazon is your biggest friend, right? It provides you low cost services. It provides you low cost goods because it is very efficient, because it is very intelligent. Right? I have so much respect for the company of Amazon. A lot of people complain saying that Amazon is taking away jobs and all this. No, I stand by Amazon saying that it is providing what the customer exactly needs. It is understanding the customer and providing exactly what he needs and giving him options, giving him choices. And that's why it is able to, okay, let us say if you want to buy a book, right? You can go to a bookstore and buy a book. The bookstore has to pay rent. The bookstore has to look at pay the employees, right? So how much? Let's say you purchase a book for $100, right? How much of it is actually the printing cost? How much of it is actually the royalty that is paid to the book author? Very less, right? Most of the price, right? How many of you heard of Barnes and Noble? Have you heard of Barnes and Noble? Barnes and Noble, one of the biggest bookstores before Amazon. Yeah, so it dominated the entire American market for a while. So, but once Amazon kicked in, they were able to go online and they eliminated the rents. They eliminated all the costs are out of the picture now. It is only the publishing cost, and very small profit margin is sufficient because I can sell you more books now. You read one book about Harry Potter. I know that you are going to like more books about Harry Potter. I will market those to you. I'll see. So from one customer, I can generate more sales. So even if the profit margin is very low, I can still make more money out of you. That is the advantage with data integration and applying these technologies. And that is where we are today. right? We are today in a world where like the data is flowing everywhere, and it is up to us to make sure that we can grab that information, we can gather the data and make intelligent decisions about our companies. Okay, is that making sense, guys? Okay, now let's yeah, any questions? Any questions on the evolution of data enterprises?
No, sir.
No. Okay, so I hope.
Do we get the?
Yeah.
Do we get any hosting on the Amazon?
Can you please repeat? I can't hear you.
Can we get hosting on Amazon? Hosting?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So hosting on Amazon. You can host like if you are a small business, right, and you want to host on Amazon, like you are manufacturing something at home. Let's say you don't even have a warehouse. You can host on Amazon, and yeah, there is some agreement that you need to cut with Amazon to host on Amazon, because Amazon helps you sell for less, right? Amazon helps you sell your product, right? You can, let us say you're manufacturing something, like to say you are a carpenter and you want to sell something on Amazon. You can host, like you can create a small website, and Amazon can actually take care of marketing that to the right people, right, who are going to buy, right? Let us say you have a furniture business, right? So you don't know how to sell it, right? You can open a store, then it will cost you a lot of money. So Amazon will say, hey, don't worry about all that, we'll take care of that. They'll say they will gather the data, they will charge fees for you, and they will make the sales happen. If you have something of value, Amazon is interested in you. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, you can host a website, you can host a product, you can sell a product on Amazon, you can become a valued seller, right? Nowadays nobody even goes to eBay. eBay used to be really big. Now nobody is bidding on eBay now. Everybody is going to, yeah, Amazon has taken over. It is the future. Anyway, so yeah, any other questions? You want to talk like general things also? I am more than happy to give you some feedback regarding product art. I mean, you don't need to be completely learning the exact things that you are seeing on the screen, but if you have general questions, I'm willing to answer.
What do you think about the Shopify for the future?
What do you think? What? Can you please repeat? Shopify. Yeah, I mean, see, I am not here to make any predictions of which which companies is going to do.
Asking for the, like, if you have knowledge about it.
Yeah, I have some knowledge, but it is gaining pace. It is one of the. I mean, it is not a challenge or a match to Amazon, in my opinion. It is a good service that is being offered, but definitely the scale at which Amazon is operating is vast. Yeah, Shopify will do well, but yeah, obviously it will struggle in competing with Amazon. Yeah. So that's my personal opinion. You cannot say, oh, you said that, and yeah, that's a personal opinion. So product architecture. Let's talk about the product architecture. So the product architecture is at the base, right? Like it's like a fundamental thing. Like how do you want to change a particular product so that it appeals to a customer? So that's the basic product architecture. And then after you go forward, you look at the data, you look at the technical element, and then convert that into information. So then I talked to you about metadata. How many of you understand what metadata is? What is metadata? What is metadata? I covered this.
I think metadata is a big collection of all the data.
Yeah, it
collaboration.
Is yes, it is a collection of if too much of data is there, right? And you segregated that into different Excel files. Let us say, how many of you worked with Excel file where they have like different sheets, right? You have different sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, and right. So you can each sheet has a data, right? So now, but entire sheet, the Excel workbook contains all these sheets, right? You can call the Excel workbook as a source, like you can say where each data is, which one contains which information. You can, that's called a metadata, right? It is the architecture framework must have good strategy in place to handling metadata. Excel does great things. Excel can give you, if you open an Excel workbook, right, and they have multiple sheets, each sheet will have a name, and you can click on that name, right? So that is called like a metadata. It gives you information of where the data lies. So business data is simply putting that into business perspective. Technical data is like, you put where the data is located using maps, using workflows and transformations. So data about data. That means you have so much data that you need to give me more data about the data, right? That's called metadata. And managing metadata is not an easy task. So first of all, managing could have issues like political, who is owning this data and who can define the data. So like, and we should not count on technology to do all the metadata management. Usually it is governments or the, like it's the higher level management of large amount of data. Like for example, ABS gives you so much data about the population statistics, so much about the employment statistics of different age groups. So it gives you data, and you can also find, it will also give you a file where you can say, hey, this file can be found here, this file can be found here, and so on. So usually the managing the metadata is not really a function of technical skills. It's a function of policy and politics and what culture you are in, what country you are in, and all this other stuff. The last and probably the most important in today's world is security and privacy, right? People, like, let me tell you honestly one thing, people don't care about their privacy nowadays. They don't care. They just give away their information like it is nothing. I have done that myself. I have shared my email on so many websites. I have shared my phone number on so many websites. I get phone calls that I don't know the name of. That is because I have been reckless in sharing my data. Please don't do the same mistake as I did. And now correct your mistakes. Value your privacy. Okay. So massive amount of data is flowing through your phone, through your computer, whatever you're using. Right? Make sure that you are checking whether the data is it something that you are okay with the app. Like you install new apps, right? Whenever you open a new app, the app says, is it okay if I access your information from Google? Right? You see a lot of terms and agreements. You say yes, and then it will know. Right? For example, a lot of companies out there, a lot of third-party companies out there, they know exactly where you are located. They know what you're buying. So you are giving them authority because you are not caring about your privacy. Maybe you are uneducated. You don't know you don't have any digital literacy. That is possible. But people who are educated, right? Even like, look at me, like I'm an idiot to share so many my email all over the web. I'm an idiot. Okay. But there are so many people like me who get bulk emails. Open your email and see how much junk you get. Why do you get that? How do those people know about your email? How do they know about your email address? Because you have been sharing this email address over the internet without any discretion. So don't value your privacy. Value and make sure that whenever you're communicating with someone, there is some secure channel, right? If you're doing business, do through a secure channel. If you're interacting with a bank, How do you know something is secure? Like when you are doing an interaction with a bank, how do you know if it is secure? Whether the website is secure or not? How do you know that? What is a basic test?
Just the picture quality.
No. Picture quality, anybody can upload a good picture quality.
Like some of the website has like HTTP and HTTPS.
Yes, very good, very good. Yeah, so that's correct. Like let us see. Let us see this website today. Today I'm opening KOI, right? It says, is it HTTP or HTTPS?
HTTP.
No, it is HTTP. It is not secure, right?
Yep.
This connection to the site is not secure, right? If I open Amazon like Netflix, right? If I open Netflix, do you think it is secure? As you can see, there is a lock here. This is secure. Nobody else can access this information without the login. This is a secure website. So there are, like, you need to understand that some of the websites are HTTP and most of them today are HTTPS, right? So now you click on it, now it will see site settings. You can go to site settings and you know that it is HTTPS, not HTTP. Okay. So you can do the safety check. You can understand whether the transactions that you are doing are safe or not. These are the things that you are like, you can look at the extensions, right? Now you can look at these are the extensions. You make sure that you understand these basics on technology that you can use and adapt this. If you are using Google Chrome, yeah, so make sure that so you have these settings properly. Okay. All right. Anyway, so that's we don't want to go deep into that. Yeah, hopefully that is making sense. All right. So security and privacy architecture framework, it needs to incorporate in all layers, right? What data is being used to build these BI applications, right? So BI customers, they can use the data directly, right? In building a BI application, you need some data, right? You need if you want to build a Tableau or like your Power BI or any other data framework or data architecture, you need to gather the data and you need to use this data to build the BI application. So who is going to get access to the data? You need to answer all these questions at different layers. That means, are people going to so who is going to answer this? Who is going to access the data? Why are these people getting access to the data? Are they doing something useful with it? Are they doing some analysis with it? How can we secure our data, right? Like, we don't want the data to be appearing and getting shared by other people, getting shared, being looked at by third party. So we want the data to be secure. The channel of the data transfer, the channel of the data transfer must be very secure, right? And that's what we need to make sure in today's world. We need to make sure the data is secure, and personal data must be kept private. So make sure that your email, like if you look at your email junk and see how much of understand why there is a story behind, like where you might have shared someplace the email. Don't value your privacy. So this is the architecture action plan, as I said, from the product level. Like, you list off all the categories, and then you embrace the technology, define the technical functionality that you use, and then you use the information, and then you deliver the data, right? So this is the architectural framework. That this is we already talked about it here. It is the same thing. It's like explaining what I have already explained, like, so basically product architecture, and then we look at the data and technical architecture, and then we create that information for businesses to make decisions. So if you look at here, it is the same process, right? It is you start with the data, integrate the data warehouse, and then make the decision. So I hope that is clear to all of you. Do you guys understand the class, and hopefully enjoyed the class and learned something from it? Any questions? I'm willing to take any questions relating databases or database management, or Any questions? Any general questions also? I'm willing to take. Guys, any questions, guys?
Sir,
Okay. All right. Yeah, just what I would suggest you to do is go through the lecture one more time. And okay, so there are a few students. Okay, let's just take the attendance and see if anybody missed out the attendance. This is someone. Okay, just attendance. Let's go through the attendance. All right. Okay, let us see. Anybody who missed the attendance in the beginning? No. Yeah, Muhammad.
No, number 9. 9.
Okay. Anybody else?
Number 7.
Yeah. See, I don't want to, like, this is really tiring for me, but if you are not willing to
Number
learn,
31. Number 31.
Yeah, 31, yeah. Yeah, come to the class on time, attend the lecture, and this is going to be very useful, very helpful for you. I'm trying to do the best thing that I can do and giving you general information as well and how it relates. So don't take the class lightly. Anybody else who did not come?
Hello. Yes, sir.
39.
Huh?
39.
My attendance is not done yet.
39?
Yes.
39. What's your name?
Sufran.
Okay.
Sir, my name is Sogat. Can you check for that?
Yeah, please remember your number, like, so that's easier.
Yeah.
Remember your number and it makes things easy.
Can you type in? Go down. Oh yeah, 48.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's good. So the quiz is actually really is giving you 20 minutes to do 10 questions, and then they're giving you 5 days to do the quiz, or 7 days to do the quiz. So it's meaningless. In my opinion, it's meaningless. Quiz should be done in like 10 minutes, and I will talk to the coordinator to see if this can be fixed. This is if it is already done the other way. So it is easy to give 5 points to everybody. So they're not even checking whether you come to the class or whether you're learning or anything. So this is meaningless. We
can do it anytime.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, according to the, yeah, you can do it anytime. Yeah. So, but the password, I did not get any email from him regarding the password. That's the thing. I can give you the password if I know, but I don't have the password. Let me check if I have the password. So if that is the case, I can give it to you.
Can I start it now, please?
Yeah, but you can start now. You can, but you need the password. Do you have the password? Was the password provided to you?
No.
Yeah, without the password, you cannot take the quiz. And
when you gonna tell the password now?
I'm trying to look if I was emailed that password, because I'm not the one who created that quiz. So I don't know the password. So people who created the quiz will create a password.
And will the quiz start at 3? Lecture time?
Lecture will start at 3.
Yeah, and what about
the tutorial will start at 3.
Yeah, what about quiz then?
The quiz, you see, you can do the quiz anytime. You don't need to do the quiz in the tutorial class.
And you said a password or something. What is that?
Yeah, I'm trying to find out the password. I don't know the password, and it is not emailed to me, and I'm not the course coordinator for this. Somebody
Who
else
is that?
created.
I thought you are the course coordinator.
No, I am not the course. I'm a lecturer. I'm one of the lecturers, and his name is Kasir Khan. He is the one who created the quiz. So let me see if I can get in touch with him. I already texted him. I don't want to bother him again if he's in the middle of a class or something. Yeah, so he will give me a call back whenever he's done with the class, and then I will give you I'll give you the key. So yeah, okay. So I suggest you guys come to the class. Come to the tutorial class. Let me close this window. Let me close this a little bit sooner. We are closing it a little bit sooner, and I'm gonna start the tutorial a little early today.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
At
We'll
what
start
time you
at
finishing?
2:45. So you have 10 minutes break. Take 10 minutes break, and let's start at 2:45 because we don't want to waste any more time. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And what about if my class start at like 5 to 7, and can I join it from 2:45?
What? Your start at 5 to 7?
Yeah.
What do you mean 5 to 7?
My
you can join the class. Yeah, if you are taking another lecturer's class, is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm taking the same class from 5 to 7 from you.
I don't teach 5 to 7. I teach only.
Oh,
3
yeah,
to
sorry,
5.
then mistake. That's all right.
Yeah. I teach only 3 to 5. Yeah. Okay, guys. I'll close it. And by the way, all the videos that I'm doing, they are uploaded onto Moodle, right? And you can access these videos. Okay. Okay, guys. Let me. I can actually stop the recording. So let's see where I can stop the recording.